All right, now we are going to try to graph the averages for just the summer months for two locations in Kauai. So if you recall, the question is if we're going to set up a reserve in Kauai, which location would be better? And we're mostly concerned of the summer months because those are the drier months. So the location that has more rainfall would be the better location to set up a reserve. So what I'd like you to do here is, you can see there's a lot of data here and it can get confusing. So the first thing, in order to make it more visual, I'm going to have you select the summer months only, which is June, July, August. And to make it more visible, we're going to look at this paint bucket and we're going to fill it in kind of a light gray. And that's going to help it pop out. And so you know which data you're really interested in. And we're going to do that for location 2 as well with that light gray. Okay, oops, I'm going to make it a little bit darker. There we go. What? One more time, let's see. Is it this color? All right, now we've got our two locations with the data that we actually are interested highlighted. So I'm going to write over here my calculation for location 1. What we're trying to do again is take the average of the amount of rainfall that occurs during June, July, and August during the summer months. And if you remember, to calculate an average, we take all the data points, add them together, and divide it by the number of data points we use. So it's actually a two-step calculation. First, you get a total, then you divide it by the total number of data points, then you get your average. So the first thing we're going to have to do is figure out the total during summer. Okay, and so I'm just going to write that there so that I know what this number is going to mean when I do my calculation. So in order to tell Google Sheets to do a calculation, I have to look for the equal button on your keyboard. Okay, so there's a bunch of numbers on your keyboard. At the very end, you'll find the equal button. And I typed it in already, and it just popped out. It's in my cell, but also you could see it right here, equal. Okay, this is the same thing as this, but just a close-up. All right, so now that I've told Google Sheets to do a calculation by typing in the equal sign, I'm going to tell Google Sheets what numbers to add together. So I'm going to select the number I wanted to add. So here's my first number. And then I want it to add. So I'm going to type plus, and then the next number. And then I'm going to type another plus, select the next number, plus the next number. Oops, I don't want that number, so I'm going to move that over here. Press plus, next number, plus, and then my last number. I want all those 6 numbers added together, and I know it's in tiny, tiny font, but you could see there are 6 little cells highlighted here, and they're color coordinated. So you know these 6 numbers are going to be added together, and then we press enter in our keyboard, and you've got your total in terms of your calculation. But we're doing an average, so we also want to tell Google Sheets to do an average. How do we do that? Well, we tell Google Sheets to do a calculation by pressing the equal sign. I wrote that there. You could see the equal sign is teeny tiny here, but larger up here. And then the average is equal to your total number, which I calculated here. So I'm going to select my total number. I've already calculated, so I'm just going to select it. And then I'm going to tell Excel to divide that by 6. Divide can be represented by the backslash on your keyboard. So I put a backslash here. It's very, very tiny, but it's there. So I put a backslash and then type the number 6 and now press enter, and there it is. Okay, so to calculate your average, we just tell Google Sheets to take your total number and divide it by 6. And we're going to do the same thing here for location number 2. So I'm going to press Control C to copy this label over here, Control V. And so I'm also going to do the same thing for the average, Control C, put that label over here, Control V. Okay, now I'm going to do the total for the summer in location 2 by doing this similar thing. Okay, we're going to take our equal sign, enter it in that cell, and that's going to tell Google Sheets to start a calculation. Then we're going to take the numbers we want to add together and select them individually. So I want this number. I'm going to press my plus sign on my keyboard, and then this number, add it to this number, plus this, and plus this last number. Then press enter. And that gives you 111 as your total. So we didn't actually have to calculate it. Google Sheets did it for us. Now for average, we're going to put an equal sign here. And then the average formulation is you take your total number, which we calculated here. So we're going to select that, backslash number 6. Press enter, and now we've got our average. All right, now we have two averages, one for location 1, one for location 2. We can further tell Google Sheets to graph this out. So in order for Google Sheets to graph it, you need to put the x-axis data on the left side, y-axis data on the right side. That's how Google is going to interpret the information. So x-axis is your independent variable, and that would be the location. Okay, so location 1 is on your x-axis. That's going to be the label for your x-axis, and we're comparing it to location 2. Now on the y-axis is a dependent variable, and that's the amount of rainfall. The amount of rainfall depends on the location. So location 1's average rainfall, we're going to press equal here, and then we're going to select the average we calculated for location 1, which is this cell right here. And then we press enter, and you could see that it copied that information here to location 1 that you're going to use for your graph. Location 2, let's do the same thing. We press the equal sign, select the average that you calculated earlier, and then press enter, and that number gets brought down to this area here, which is what we're going to use to generate our graph. Okay, now we're going to highlight this. And we're going to press insert. We're going to go to chart. Okay, and when we press chart, Google Sheets will assume that the left data is X, the right data is Y. It's going to give us a pie chart by default, but for this lab, I'd like for you to do a bar graph and something that looks like this. So they call it a column chart. And so now we've got our bar graph, and we could drag it to make it a little bit bigger. But I want more information on here. So the data is right, but I'm not happy with the information. So I'm going to customize it by first adding a chart title. So I went to chart axis title, and then I'm going to put the chart title here because every graph needs a title, rainfall pattern in Kauai. All right. And you can see there it is. But I'm not happy with this font. So here, rainfall pattern Kauai, I'm going to choose the font size to be a bigger number. That looks pretty good. I like 36, so I'm going to keep it like that. Now, I also want an axis for my vertical. So to label my vertical axes and horizontal axes, I'm going to go back to chart and axes titles. And instead of allowing it to label the chart title, I'm going to select my vertical axis title, and I'm going to label that. Ooh, it's written there for me already, but I'm going to type it in rainfall in centimeters. Okay, and you could see the rainfall in centimeters is inserted here, but the font is tiny, and I like 36, so let's see if that looks good. That's fine. Then to label the x-axis, that is going to be your horizontal axis title, and I'm going to give it a title as well. I'm going to say location in Kauai. Okay, and the font is very small. Let's select 36, for instance. That seemed to work really well. And of course, you could change these fonts to whatever size you want. If you find that this is really hard to read, we just select that area, and then we increase our font to whatever number you want. That looks good, maybe a little bit bigger, so on. Okay, so it looks like I'm happy with this. So I'm now going to try to insert this data in my Word, my Lab 1 write-up. So in order to copy this data, all I do is select this, and the easiest way is to press Control C on your keyboard, and now it's copied. And you just go to your document, and then here, press Control V. And then once you get there, the chart might be a little bit big. We're going to drag the corner, and now we've got our graph saved in our lab write-up. And that's it.